Here's a 3-part Spanish study routine that includes speaking, listening, reading, and writing in as little as 5 minutes a day. Learning Spanish is a huge project, and if you're trying to connect on a deep and personal level with the Spanish speakers in your life, you absolutely have to work consistently on all these different things. So let's dive into our 3-step system for making sure that you're always moving forward, even on bad days. The first piece of the system is to review a few flashcards in Spanish. Research shows that quizzing yourself, making yourself try to guess Spanish from English, is one of the most efficient and effective ways to make your learning stick, especially if you do it consistently. I recommend using flashcards that have entire phrases on them, especially emphasizing core grammar and essential sentence structure. Here are a few real examples that we use with our coaching students. The English side says, "She won't have to do it again." So I'm going to guess, "No lo tendrá que hacer otra vez." Next, "She wants me to want it." So I'm going to guess that this is "Ella quiere que yo lo quiera." All right, one more. "We were there at the same time." Estábamos ahí al mismo tiempo. Now, during this part of the routine, here are 3 tips for getting the most from your flashcard study. The most important thing is to make a guess. Even if you're sure you won't get it right, it's actually been shown that making an inaccurate guess and then getting corrected by what's on the flashcard will actually help make the real answer more memorable when you flip the card over. The second tip is to speak the Spanish on the flashcards out loud. So make a guess and make it out loud ideally, but more importantly, when you flip the card over and you see the Spanish, speak that Spanish out loud. Speaking accurate Spanish sentences out loud will accelerate your fluency because you're actually practicing the muscle memory of saying Spanish, not just thinking it in your head. The third tip is to take notes of anything you have trouble with. So for example, if I was looking at this flashcard and I forgot how to use quiera as the subjunctive of querer, I'll take a note of that so that I can practice that a little bit more later. At the end of your flashcard review, if you have time, you should then add some more flashcards to your collection based on what you had trouble with. For example, here you can see me finding a few more good examples that use quiera and adding those to my collection of digital flashcards so that I get more practice with this in the coming days. Now, some days you won't have time to do that, and that's okay. So on a bad day, you should cut the routine short. Maybe on a good day, you review 20 flashcards, but on a bad day, make yourself review at least 5 flashcards. That way, even on a bad day, you have the confidence that you're getting some good core Spanish practice. And by the way, this strategy of reviewing at least 5 flashcards a day is especially effective if you're using what we call a spaced repetition system. This is a sophisticated system that automatically prioritizes the Spanish that you're having the most trouble with. Subscribe to this channel to see an upcoming video on how you can use a spaced repetition system to review your Spanish. All right, on to step 2 of the routine. The next thing you should be doing every day is to quiz with what we call audio quizzes. These are basically the audio version of flashcards, where instead of reading English and then guessing the Spanish and reading it, you hear the English and then you try to guess the Spanish before you hear it, and then you speak the Spanish along with the Spanish that you hear. The specific advantage here is that you don't get to use the crutch of reading. Instead, you're focusing on the auditory elements of the language only, which is great practice because it simulates real-life conversation where you don't have subtitles to read. So first of all, the LearnCraft Spanish podcast has 250 lessons available for free with audio quizzes in almost every episode. For example, here's episode 100, and I'm showing you the transcript here where you can see all of the audio quizzes that are in the episode. But of course, ideally, a great way to practice with this is just to listen to it and speak along. Another option we use with our coaching students is a quizzing software where you can customize your audio quizzes. For example, here you can see that I'm selecting a range of lessons from our course. I specifically want to quiz stuff from lesson 71 to lesson 90. I turn on autoplay and we're off to the races. So I can listen to the English, predict the Spanish, speak along with the Spanish, and I can do this either just sitting down as a part of my routine, or I can get up and do some housework while doing these audio quizzes. Now, while you're doing these audio quizzes, make sure you speak the Spanish out loud. So speak out loud when you're making a guess before you hear the Spanish. And then, when you do hear the Spanish, speak the Spanish that you hear. And just like with the flashcards, try to take notes of anything you have trouble with. So how much of this audio quizzing should you do on a daily basis? Normally, I recommend about 10 or 20 per day. On a bad day, though, you can do as few as 3 or 4. That way, even on a bad day when you only have 5 minutes for this routine, you know that you're always getting some good spoken Spanish practice every day. Okay, the third and final part of this routine is to write in Spanish. This is where you're going to take your notes from anything you had trouble with in the flashcards or in the audio quizzes, and you're going to write some Spanish sentences that use that grammar you were having trouble with. So for example, I wrote down that I was having trouble with quiera. So I'm going to write a couple of sentences that use quiera. So first I'm going to write, I want her to want this. Quiero que ella quiera esto. And then for some variety, how nice that he loves her. Qué bueno que él la quiera. Now those are some very basic examples, but one fun way to do this part of the routine is to think about some real-life scenarios where you might use this grammar you're having trouble with. So for example, maybe I'm interested in talking about board games with my Argentinian friends. What I'm going to do is come up with some sentences that use quiera in the context of board games. So for example, how nice that she wants to play that game too. Qué bien que ella quiera jugar ese juego también. Now, in general, I recommend writing about 5 to 10 sentences per day, focusing on the Spanish grammar that you're having trouble with. But on a bad day, you have my permission to write only 1 sentence. Either way, as a final part of this step, I recommend sending the sentences that you've written to a native-speaking Spanish friend or coach. That way you can make sure that you're practicing everything you're working on correctly. Okay, one more bonus tip before we go. So you now have a 3-step routine that covers speaking, listening, reading, and writing with an emphasis on core grammar. But even a quick, simple routine like this is hard to keep consistent if you're in danger of forgetting to do it. So here's a little hack that we've learned for making sure you do this on a daily basis. Try to find a consistent time every day to do this work, specifically right after something else that you already do consistently. I got this tip from the book Atomic Habits, and it's helped hundreds of our coaching students stay consistent with their Spanish learning. For example, maybe you choose a time right after you brush your teeth, or right after you pour your first cup of coffee. Making this kind of commitment will help you hold yourself to doing a little Spanish study every day consistently. And maybe some days you'll have 20 or 30 minutes to do it, but even on bad days when you only have 5 minutes, that consistency of committing to doing it every day at that same time is infinitely better than nothing. All right, let's summarize this 3-step daily study routine. First, use flashcards to review essential Spanish every day. Make sure to guess the Spanish, and try to do 20 flashcards on a good day, but on a bad day, you can just review 5. Second, use audio quizzes. So speak your Spanish guesses out loud, and in particular, speak the Spanish that you hear out loud. And generally, try to get through about 10 or 20 of these every day, but on a bad day, you can do just 3 or 4. And third, write at least 1 Spanish sentence of your own every day, based on anything that you struggled with in the flashcards and the audio quizzes. And as a bonus tip, try to find a consistent time every day when you have at least 5 minutes to do this routine, ideally after something you already do consistently, like brushing your teeth. If you follow this 3-step routine every day, you'll have the peace of mind of knowing that you're moving forward on Spanish every day, including speaking, listening, reading, and writing in Spanish. If you're ready to get started with this and you want to use the resources that I showed you in this video, you can use our free course at SpanishVideoCourse.com. This is a 250-lesson course in core Spanish with an emphasis on deep grammar and expression. And it uses thousands of grammar-focused flashcards and audio quizzes, so it pairs really well with the routine I gave you today. This is the same course and study routine that we use to get our coaching students fluent in Spanish, guaranteed. You can sign up to use the course for free at SpanishVideoCourse.com. And subscribe to this channel for more tried and true study techniques for achieving genuine Spanish fluency.